New images have been released this morning of a prisoner swap between Russia and Ukraine. These are Ukrainian soldiers, mostly wounded and under the age of 25, who were handed back by Russia. Neither side will say how many soldiers have been swapped exactly. The Russians say a similar number of their men were also returned. It's nice to see some smiles on some faces amidst what has been a bloody and horrific war. It's the first of a series of planned prisoner swaps. Joining me this morning is Vasyl Moroshenko, who's the Ukraine ambassador to Australia and New Zealand. Good morning, lovely to have you on the program.
Good morning, Ryan.
Great to have you. What is your reaction seeing those pictures?
Well, look, it's extremely relieving to see Ukrainian soldiers being released. As you know, Russians are also keeping lots of civilians who they just grabbed and put them in jails. So certainly a swap of them in a humanitarian kind of mission is a good step forward.
They don't look particularly healthy though, do they? That's one of the first things I noticed when I was watching that.
Well, imagine being there for a year.
Yeah. What does this tell us? I mean, it's something. It's obviously not a ceasefire, it's not a peace deal, but it's something. Does it give you hope at all?
No, it doesn't, because it doesn't look like there is a ceasefire, or there might be a ceasefire. We have accepted the proposal from President Donald Trump for a ceasefire on the 11th of March, and we have offered that to Russia, and they haven't accepted that. 2 months later, they've just sent more missiles, they've just sent more drones to kill more Ukrainians, to destroy more infrastructure. So Russians are pretending they're negotiating, but they are not. They're just imitating that. They believe the time is on their side. They're now advancing, or trying to advance, looking for a breakthrough in different parts of Ukraine. So only unity in strength, only pressure, only further isolation of Russia can force them into negotiating in good faith.
Is Europe holding up its end of the bargain on that front? And New Zealand was part of this, reportedly part of this coalition that was coming together to try and force Russia's hand. How successful is that? Clearly not very.
It's actually the involvement of the US which is crucial in this. So we need to make sure that US is involved. Europe is involved, New Zealand, Australia are involved. Coalition of the willing is a very important mechanism of a potential deployment of troops as peacekeeping missions. But for the time being, while the war is in full speed, it's kind of difficult to even talk about it, because we can't have a framework unless we have a ceasefire.
Ceasefire first. So what about the role of China in all of this? I've spoken to a couple of experts over the last couple of weeks who say the one guy who could probably call this off tomorrow would be Xi Jinping. Do you agree with that?
100%.
So what do we do about that? And what about New Zealand's pressure on China, of which there's been, as far as I'm aware, none?
Look, China is a superpower, and China is the biggest military in the region. It's the biggest economy in the region, and everybody depends on China. Ukraine is interested in engaging with China at a great extent. They're buying lots of our iron ore, they buy our grain, we buy fertilizer, we buy other products, so we are trading with China. We've seen recently the Chinese citizens there. But at the same time, we see Xi Jinping going to Moscow to support Putin. We see basically dependence of Russia on the Chinese market, on the supplies of the parts for the defense industry. So, and China is benefiting from this war from a geopolitical view, because Russia is getting weak. They've asserted themselves in Central Asia. And of course, China could play a bigger role in this whole thing, certainly.
Okay, what about, and presumably some pressure from little old New Zealand could help on that front. What about the taking the war further inside Russia, as Ukraine has been doing quite successfully of late? Do you think we will see more of that, like the drone strikes on the carriers?
Asymmetric warfare is what our intelligence agencies are now very good at, and probably the best in the world. And by the way, this is something that I brought here to New Zealand this time. While we still need your support on a humanitarian side, on military equipment side, or training, but now actually there's a lot we can share with your intelligence agencies. We can make them more prepared for any kind of conflict. We can, beef up your defense. And actually, we are now the #1 producer of drones in the world, which probably you may buy to actually improve your own capabilities. And the way we deploy those drones actually underwater, above the ground. Just recently we had this Ukrainian underwater drone which went into the Russian Black Sea port And from underwater, the drone has shot down a fighter jet.
So you're here not so much to ask for more diplomatic support, but to do some defence deals potentially.
I'm here to engage with government and politicians and business people. I'm here to promote, facilitate cooperation, and I think defense industry, or generally defense cooperation, is one of those. And look, there is so much at stake for New Zealand the way this war is going to play out. You have to remember that Russia is a permanent member of the UN Security Council. It has nuclear weapons. So if Russians can do what they've done, why other nuclear countries can't do what Russia did?
Including China, perhaps in Taiwan. Appreciate you coming on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Great to catch up with you as always.
Thank you, Ryan.
Is Vasyl Miroshnichenko, who's the Ukrainian ambassador to Australia and New Zealand.